Twitter Marketing Best Practices. The first 9 videos of this training step you through the process of Twitter marketing. Whether you're going the fully automated route or you're doing things by hand, you have to use certain best practices. Otherwise, it's too easy for your Twitter marketing campaign to simply fall apart. The vast majority of people who try their hand at Twitter marketing simply do not succeed. It's not because these people are dumb. It's not because these people are hopeless in terms of execution. They just did not have a plan. They also did not follow certain best practices that would have increased their chances of success. Here are just some best practices that I've learned marketing successfully on Twitter for several years. Element by element optimization. When you're optimizing content on Twitter, it's a good idea to focus on one element at a time. What is an element? Well, it's just part of a tweet. It could be the question. It could be the link. It could be the hashtag. When you're optimizing for the highest amount of engagement and click-through, you have to change your tweet section by section. You can't just change them dramatically overnight because even if you do get some sort of improvement, you don't know which part accounts for that improvement. You're completely in the dark. On the other hand, if you optimize element by element, you can clearly identify which part you changed and reasonably conclude that this accounts for the improvement. Once you're no longer getting a nice improvement or you peaked with a particular element, then you switch to the next element. With Twitter, this is pretty straightforward. You play around with many different question variations until you get one that gets clicked a lot. Next, you swap out different hashtags until you get something that gets clicked a lot. It seems pretty simple, but it's something that takes place over an extended period of time. It's not something that happens overnight. You just have to pay attention to the trend. That's traffic statistics so you can make the necessary adjustments. Tweet timing optimization. Depending on your time zone, it may well turn out that a lot of your most active followers prefer early morning or late at night. Pay attention to your statistics. Maybe you're using Google Analytics. Maybe you're using StatCounter. It really doesn't matter. Pay attention to the time of the clicks coming in. You see a pattern. If you do, use your tweet scheduling software to mirror the most active times or the most popular time frame of your content. This is the time range where most people click on your links on Twitter. Make your decisions based on statistics. A lot of brilliant online marketers fail in the Twitter marketing game because they go with their gut. They tell me, I just know it feels right. Alternatively, they tell me that their gut is telling them something. 9 times out of 10, these people fail. Again, they're not dumb. They're not stupid. Instead, they base their decision on feelings. Unfortunately, in this game, feelings can only take you so far. In fact, hunches often lead to dead ends. If you're going to be making a decision involving your content, your conversion pages, your mailing list, or whatnot, pay attention to statistics. Make sure you can justify whatever changes you make with hard numbers. Leverage the power of questions. One of the best ways to publish content on Twitter is to ask questions. It's really that simple. You ask a question and then you post a link and then some hashtags. The great thing about this question-based tweeting is you get to engage the reader. You focus on a specific point that they may be interested in. If they are, you're more likely to get the click. This is definitely more engaging because you start with a specific need that they have. You're not just wasting people's time by saying, hey, this might be interesting. Who cares? There's tons of interesting stuff on Twitter. People simply do not have the time to consume all that information. One of the best descriptions I have read about Twitter is that it's like drinking from a fire hydrant. There's just so much information to process in a very short period of time. This is why most people who consume a lot of social media content don't bother to read. They really don't. They don't have that luxury. Instead, they scan by tweeting in the form of questions followed up by a link and some hashtags. You take advantage of this fact, people only need to see the right question and then you have yourself a click. It fits how people think about and process information on Twitter. Interestingly enough, a lot of marketing professionals are saying that this also creates some sort of SEO signal. This is a big deal because it can give you a search engine optimization benefit. Now, please understand that this benefit is very marginal. In fact, spokespeople for Google have spoken up on this issue. For the most part, they said this type of social signal isn't really factored in by Google. However, a lot of professional search engine optimization consultants say that there is an indirect or circumstantial benefit. Whatever the truth may be, we could all agree that if there is a signal that is being factored in by Google, it's going to be a very weak factor. Still, it is a factor. So you raise the question-based format. Use your questions for Quora. Not only do you get to engage your Twitter followers more directly by using questions, you can recycle this resource by posting it on Quora. You're killing two birds with one stone. You are posing a question on Twitter, and then it's copying and pasting that question and posting it on Quora, and then posting an answer, or you can look for a similar question that already exists on Quora and answer with basically the link that you are promoting through Twitter. You save on time. You definitely save on effort. Always optimize your content. It's really important to make sure that you identify your best performing content. This is not easy to do with Twitter. You basically have to pay attention to your website statistics and figure out which content update gets the most love from your followers. Once you have identified your best performing content, don't stop there. Don't just think that you're just going to have to come up with the exact same content. That's not going to cut it. Also, don't think that you only need to give your system a few days for you to identify your winning content. Here's the system that I use. Regardless of whether you are completely automating your system or you're manually doing engagements, you need to do the following as far as content optimization goes on Twitter. Step 1. Start with randomly selected content. Now, please understand that this content must be top content. Look at the reverse engineering section that I mentioned earlier in this training. You should know how to spot objectively good content. Once you're able to do that, create a massive list of all that type of content and then randomly select this content and publish it on your Twitter feed. Again, you can use Hootsuite or Social Oomph or some other content scheduling software. Let this piece of content run until a few weeks pass. Step 2. Review your results. If you give the system enough time to tweet and keep republishing stuff that you have tweeted before, certain patterns should emerge. With enough time, you will get rid of false positives. These are content types or themes that you think are winners. It turns out that they're statistical flukes. Their success, statistically speaking, is just coincidental. With a few weeks, however, of running time, you should get a clear understanding of which of your content are real winners. Step 3. Focus on what works. At this stage, you should have a clear understanding of what truly works. These tweets are no joke. If you tweet this type of content, you can rest assured you will get quite a bit of engagement and click-through from your Twitter feed. You need to create more of this type of content. If you don't have the time or resources to do that, you should find other third-party content that is just like your winning content. Focus on what works. Scale it up. Pair it with your squeeze page tweets. Pair it with your content that leads to ads or other conversion devices on your website. Whatever the case may be, you need to focus on what works and scale up once you've identified reliably productive content. Again, this takes time. This is not something that you identify overnight. You have to let the patterns play out. You need to let the statistical flow of your traffic even out over a long enough period of time. If you do this right, you will be able to shift your Twitter feed towards content that has a predictable level of engagement. This paves the way for the success of your Twitter campaign. Cross-feed your content among platforms. If you notice that you have winning content on Twitter, don't just leave it at Twitter. There's a good chance that people on other platforms would appreciate that same content. Take that content and share it on Pinterest or Instagram. If you are sharing third-party videos and they do really well on Twitter, share them on your YouTube channel. Whatever the case may be, cross-feed or cross-pollinate your content among different social media platforms. There's a lot to choose from. There's Pinterest, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, Reddit, and Quora, among many others. Mix and match. Pick your very best content. Try along different platforms and identify what works. Once you identify that a particular type of content that you tweet also does well on another platform, publish more of that stuff. Scale it up.